Hi, everyone. And we're back here to the Neil Haley Show in the Total Celebrity segment. I'm excited to welcome the program Rick Nielsen of Cheap Trick. Rick, thanks for stopping by. How are you, man?
Nielsen and Neil. How about that?
Hey, a perfect combination. I'm waiting for that co-host and all that stuff to come on board. So let's talk about starting out. Did you always want to be in music, Rick?
Yeah, my parents were musicians. My father was an opera singer, so it was like I was around music, but it just wasn't my type. But I started out as a drummer, and at the time I was involved with the closest to guitar I was like with the Ventures, bands like that. But then the Beatles came on, and I was hooked.
Really, you're hooked. You said you wanted to do it. And so how did you guys get together, Cheap Trick? How did that happen?
Well, let's see. I had a whole bunch of bands before Cheap Trick, but I was always in those bands. I'm the only constant since grade school till today.
Oh, wow.
Who's in the band? So, but I always look for the best players to play with, and luckily I found them. They were pick the best guy from this band, pick the best guy from, but not best guy from this band, and the last that made the whole thing together was Robin Zander. Always looking for a singer that could sing like that.
And that was the big thing. Finding that find is what discovered you guys, right? Getting that final find. What do you say?
Yeah, yeah. I was good. Drummer was good. Bass player was good. Like I said, I was good. And the missing cement was Robin, and still my favorite lead singer in the whole wide world.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, so let's kind of go into specifically how did that big break happen?
Well, let's see. We'd been banging. Actually, I got a record deal, and Tom Peterson was on that deal. We were both just out of high school, and we got signed to Epic Records, and I was the second guitarist and mellotron player, because I was the only guy in the United States that had a mellotron at that time in '68, and we put our first record out in 1969. It's fresh out of high school, had our own deal, and Epic Records, and we went no place. But we were too dumb to quit, just like Cheap Trick is, and we stuck around, and so that was '69, and a mere 8 years later, after starting Cheap Trick, we got our second record deal offered to us. Jack Douglas had come to see us. We were playing at a bowling alley in Waukesha, Wisconsin. He had relatives up there, and he came to see us and liked us immediately. At least I guess that's his story. And called the record label the next morning, and we got signed in one day.
That's the great overnight success story. Even though it was.
Yeah, overnight success. 10 years after the first group. And then we made our record in '76 that didn't come out till '77. So we were like an overnight sensation, and that record didn't sell well. So it's like, and the second one didn't, and we just kept going.
So you have this attitude of not giving up. Then it sounds like in loving it.
Oh yeah, it's like, not bragging or whatever, but it's like I always thought we were good. I always thought the bands that we'd put together, the songs we wrote were good. And if people didn't like it, well, there you go. If you have to tell people you're cool, you're not. So you have to wait around till people come and think you're cool. And we just stuck to our guns. We didn't every dumb move we'd make, if we thought it was good, then it wasn't dumb. We went with it, and we're still to this day. It's like we're too dumb to quit, and we have the music to prove it.
You definitely have the music to prove it. So when we talk about specifically enough rebranding to name it Cheap Trick, how did you come up with that name?
Well, the band we had before, which was the four of us minus Robin, we lived in Philadelphia, and we were called Sick Man of Europe. And if that isn't the worst name on earth, every time, if you have a name of a band where people, if you tell them what it is, what? You have to go, you have to tell them exactly what it is because they can't, it doesn't slip off the tongue so easily. Finally, I just got tired of having like the name, whatever we had. We went to see Slade, Tom and I did in Philadelphia at the Spectrum. And they came on and Tom said to me, he said, God, these guys have every cheap trick in the book. They had glitter and they had high heel shoes on and this and that. And I said, cheap trick. Yeah, I said, that's a name. It's a household name, but it doesn't connotate anything. I don't think. But everybody would know what that is, and whether whatever definition they had of that, it still was like a household name. I mean, like the Rolling Stones, if they weren't really good, the Rolling Stones is just as bad as any other name. But it's
exactly.
Every time you think of Rolling Stones, that's those guys, and it means something.
And Cheap Trick means something, and specifically,
yeah, cheap Trick means something. It's like people would say, "Oh, what? They're Cheap Trick." It's like, where's all that sound coming from? And we were like, it was just guitar, bass, and drums. But Tom had developed by then it had developed the 12-string bass and 10-string bass, 8-string bass, and we just had a way of filling out the sound so well.
Yes.
It's like, so that everybody thought we always, even later on, people thought we always had extra instruments playing. So like U2 or something, they play and all these other instruments appear. You know what I mean? It's like we always filled out the sound with the three pieces. And I don't know.
So the look and feel of your band, thinking about Cheap Trick, the name you came up with it, then the talk about specifically defining Cheap Trick as a gimmick, as we call in pro wrestling, gimmick. A gimmick is like, a specific character, and that was the character of the band. And then Cheap Trick is trying all the different moves to kind of put something over to make it get over. What would you say, how'd you create the style once you thought of that? You said you had the other band, you put this band together, and it starts to take off, the look, the feel at that time in the 70s for music, and figuring out how that band's aura and reputation and brand looked.
Well, myself, I was like, I was never going to be a Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Keith Richards kind of guy. I was always a class clown at school, and it's like if I tried to dress up and look like any of those guys, like I was a rock star, it just wasn't me anyhow. I mean, I was a guitar player, songwriter, and so if I tried to be cool, if I tried to act like I was cool, I couldn't do it. If I tried to act like I'm me, the eccentric screwball, whatever, I could do that. I didn't try to look like Haystacks Balboa. I don't know if you remember him from an old wrestler. I actually knew a lot of the old wrestlers because I went.
Did you? Yeah, because you were near Chicago. You grew up near Chicago, right?
So. Yeah, and I saw Gorgeous George with my dad.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were the old days. I'm 48, but I wrestled in my 20s and retired in 29 in Bremen, Germany. I wrestled before The Rock was The Rock. He wore my knee pads down south, so I was part of the Attitude Era in wrestling. So I don't know the old school era, but when I consider anything, music and wrestling, rock and wrestling went hand in hand in the 80s. So about the 70s, go.
Some of those guys that we'd play the same places that the wrestlers did. I mean, we had Andre the Giant was out with us, and I was with Brutus Beefcake.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have a story about you and Andre? Do you have a story about you and Andre?
Yeah, just we were at the same place.
Oh, you didn't go out drinking with him afterwards because he would have drank you.
Well, no, I went drinking with a lot of the other boys, but not when I was not with Andre. Also, which the Hart Foundation was.
Oh,
Kevin Hart.
Bret Hart and
Bret Hart. I knew him. I actually saw him. You mentioned Germany. I met him at not the first time, but I met him at a restaurant, German restaurant in Milwaukee, and so I've known him for a long time. And plus, who's the mouth of the South?
Oh, Jimmy Hart.
Jimmy And so I kind of, we're all kind of like everybody, the wrestlers and the musicians, we're all kind of misfits. We don't fit into anything except what we do.
Exactly. All right. So let's talk about, so you were saying about it. Did you think it would become such a huge group? You make it as big as you did, like, with the songs and the
Well,
top, yeah, everything,
like I said, I always thought we were good. And when in 1978, when we went to Japan for the first time, we developed a core audience without ever being there. And when we went there, I found these people, they got it. They understood what we were up to. We're, no offense to the US, but there wasn't like a national rock paper like they had in Japan. So they listened to us, and they learned from us, and it was fantastic. I thought they were the smartest people on earth, that they liked us as much as we liked ourselves. And that's why we made that record. We probably played in Iowa the night before we went to Japan. We got to Japan, and 5,000 people waiting for us at the airport. And we sold out 2 shows at the Budokan, which is like a huge place. And where, like I said, the night before we left, we were probably playing a 300 person club that was half full at the most. So I thought these are the smartest people on earth, liking our music as much as we did.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite song out of any of your songs?
Whatever people like.
I love that. And then when you're at a certain event, you said whenever they're asking you to play last, right? Exactly.
Well,
your favorite song.
Well, that was when I was drinking. A lot of people said, "What's your favorite song?" I said, "Good Night." So then I was off to the races.
Exactly. So that's why I was wondering if you ever partied Thondre, but how wrestlers party, they party big time.
Well, yeah, I had just as much. I had a lot of fun with them because I could always outdrink almost everybody I knew, at least musician wise, and people from the service. So I fit right in that bunch.
And do you think today's musicians are like what you guys were in the 70s? Oh no way.
Well, I don't think they've played as much and had the opportunity to play as much. It seems like most bands today are kind of put together as opposed to fall together.
Exactly, for sure. So the music lives on, and you're going to be playing this great event for Charity Pros for Heroes. And tell us a little bit about that, first of all, and then how you're going to be raising money when you're playing in Florida in November.
Well, you know the details of it more than I do. I'm just doing. This is Neil with Nielsen here.
Yes, got it. So that's perfect. So I will pull some of that up at the end then, fine, because I'm going to be interviewing more people about this. But again, the great event. What do you love about still playing at this point, especially now?
I love to play. I always did love to play, and it's and the travel kind of blows, but getting there is half the fun. I mean, you have to leave. I'm not pretty enough like you, where I can just sit at home and have people adore me and come to see me. So it's like
I wish I would have traveled.
I have to go out and work.
I miss the days of traveling and wrestling. So for sure. And
well, I'll tell you, the traveling I don't miss, because actually when I was when I was young, my father was an opera singer. It's like, and he did other things too. He worked with Billy Graham and a number of other things. But he had a pilot's license, so I used to travel with him, and I was close to 48 states, Mexico and Canada by the time I was 14.
Wow.
So I've been traveling a long time, and every now and then it's the luxury leased planes flying here and there, and but for the most part, it's just laying on a bus or taking commercial flights here and there, and that part gets old. But playing still hasn't gotten old to me.
What is the rush of a crowd? And I miss this retiring from pro wrestling early, or speaking in front of a group of people. It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It's like and one of the coolest things is either seeing people that you recognizing people in the audience you've seen before, or not being able to see anybody, but having a number of people out there, and they're all there to see you, and also seeing them not walk out during a slow song.
The biggest crowd you've ever played in front of? How many?
180,000 in Nuremberg with the Who and AC/DC in September 1st, 1979.
Holy cow! That's so.
It's Zeppelinplatz. That was the place where Hitler had his rallies, and so it was a massive place.
180,000. And are you happy now that you can be back touring again and crowds?
Oh,
After
yeah.
that time in
Yeah.
COVID? That must have been rough.
Well, yeah, you said you done 6,000 interviews. We've done 6,000 shows. We played more shows than anybody that I've ever heard of. And so, yeah, I really missed it. But now we're back, and it's like, got to play catch up ball now.
Yeah, play catch up, and that's it for sure. So let's talk about the event. Again, I'm going to talk a little bit about it myself. Again, this event that you're going to be playing at is going to raise money for frontline workers that lost their lives. And and I'm going to talk a little bit about the charity right now.
Lost their lives or their livelihood?
Yeah, for sure. And
you said their lives.
Lives. Oh, yeah. So basically, lives. So let me just read a little bit about it really quick. Charity Pros, a Fort Myers, Florida nonprofit, has announced the launch of the Charity Pros for Heroes concert tour to honor the frontline health workers and first responders who lost their lives during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I see.
Yeah, it's really, and the fundraiser events will help provide educational scholarships and a Make-A-Wish grant to children left behind by the death of their fallen heroes.
Wow.
And you're going to be playing again on an Amway Center, Orlando, Florida, with John Fogerty. How cool is that going to be playing with John?
Well, I've known John a long time, and he knows me by my first name, which I didn't realize he knew me way back in the day. So he's got one of the most unique voices in the business, and he's been doing it a long time too.
And what would you say? Are you touring a lot now? Are you going out?
Yeah, we're touring a lot, and we're making up for the stuff that we lost last year and 2 years before. We just have a tour coming up the U.S. with Rod Stewart. We have a tour with the ZZ Top in Canada. We have a tour in Australia with the Stone Temple Pilots and Bush. We also have another tour in coming up in Europe too. That's all stuff, and we have some shows before this and right after this in Mexico.
So you love this, right? This is the rush.
Yeah, we're way into October of next year, of 2022.
We're back to the Neil Haley Show here on the Total Celebrity segment. And again, I always like to bring awareness to specific things. And when you think of the frontline workers that have worked so hard and then they lost their lives because of COVID-19, what these guys are doing is tremendous. So I'm excited to welcome Brad Maloney and Megan Maloney and Keith Hudson, all from Charity Pros for Heroes and Charity Pro Travel. Guys, thanks for stopping by. How are you guys?
Fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So Brad, we're going to kind of jump up and then see how Keith got involved in this, how you guys started with Charity Pro Travel. Explain that.
Sure. So in 2008, when Megan was 11, she lost 3 family members to cancer. So I was in the middle of checking out the new online travel phenomena, but there were no big companies yet. There were no Expedias, Travelocities, no giants. So I had a guy build a test site. And while that was being built, Megan came to me after her loss and said, "Dad, do you think there's any way we can help fight cancer with your new travel business?" So I thought, wow, that's a really cool aha moment. And so we took that, and we were getting ready to launch the test market for the travel site, Charity Pro Travel. And Patrick Swayze had just announced that he had been diagnosed with cancer. And Stand Up to Cancer was about to have their very first telecast, which was globally on over 100 stations around the world. So I sent him an email and said, hey, we want to test market this travel site, and we'll donate all the funds to Stand Up to Cancer.
Okay.
Well, then that got some notoriety, and the local news picked it up. And then the Ellen Show invited Megan to be on. We were on the front page of the LA Times. We went out and was part of Stand Up to Cancer, which was really great, and raised some money. But of course, there was no social media then. There were no big giants. Megan was only 11. She didn't get to go on Ellen because she was in 5th grade and in school. So still hoping to get an invite back on here. But so we did the test. We launched it, and it was a successful test, but because of those factors and the downturn of the economy in 2008, we just put the thing on the shelf until Megan got out of college. And then she came to me and said, Dad, are we ever going to do Charity Pro Travel? I contacted Keith, and he can tell you a little bit on his end, but he's basically said, I'm in. And but we ran into one little issue, and that was the fact that there were no guys building websites anymore. There was the giants had taken over the industry. So on a Saturday, we had a call with Keith and Megan and I said, I think we got an idea. And we put a proposal together and sent it off to the generic email customer service at priceline.com. Sent it off. 20 minutes later, my phone rings. Hi, I'm Rick Schneider. I'm the vice president of Priceline. He goes, they thought your email was important enough to forward to me. He goes, I'm on vacation on my boat on the intercoastal Florida, but I wanted to call you. Let's have a call Monday. We love this. On Friday, we had a contract with Priceline, and they handle all the back end of our travel. And what we do is we work with our charity partners that we bring on board. And every time you book a hotel, airfare, rent a car, or a vacation package, we donate 50% of our commission to the charity of your choice.
Oh, that's a great thing. So Keith, how did you hook up with Brad? Did you know Brad from before that, or did Brad reach out to you?
Brad at a concert at my daughter's at a stadium in somewhere. Well, I don't know where it was anyway, but and he walked up to me and introduced him and said hi, and his daughter was there. And so, you know, I meet a lot of people, and he gave me his card. And then probably, I don't know, a couple of weeks later, you know, he called me and said, hey, I'm Brad, and I met you, and, you know, at your daughter's the concert there. And I said, oh, yeah. And we started talking. So I got this concept, and I said, okay. But the thing of what is I get approached a lot because of my daughter. People want me to get involved in a lot of different business deals and stuff. So I'm very cautious because I got to protect myself, my family, and also my daughter. I can't get just involved in anything. If something happens, you know, it goes out, then I'm dirt, so to speak, especially nowadays. You know, so he ran this concept by me, and I thought, man, this is great. So I'll get back with you, and I got back with him a week or so and started talking to him, and he told me about what Priceline did and how quick they were. And I thought, well, you know, they should be quick because this is great. I mean, I can't believe that we're in, what was it, 2019 or 2017, 18, that I said, nobody's come up with this concept. And I said, yeah, let me think about it. So I got involved because it's really a wonderful thing that you can help people, and people want to help other people, especially those that are less fortunate. And so I got aboard, and I've been with him, and he's treated me really bad, though. Really bad.
So let's talk, Megan. What have you seen since that final, you know, you guys got this together with Priceline and stuff? Tell us what's happened since then.
Yeah, so since then, I graduated college and I got my degree in marketing. So we were able to kind of put more of a full-time attention into Charity Pro Travel. And as that transpired, I wanted to personally find my own nonprofit that could advocate for children's causes, because my interest had kind of gone toward those sorts of fundraising things rather than just cancer or other organizations. So we founded the Charity Pros. And at the time, we founded it to advocate just for children's causes for those less fortunate. And then as the pandemic transpired and things worsened, unfortunately, that's when we started to see how many frontline workers and first responders were losing their battle with COVID. So we looked into fundraising and seeing what was being done for those children that were being left behind. And sadly, we saw nothing. So at this point, we wanted to step in. And that's when we founded Charity Pros for Heroes, so that we could do events and fundraising to give back to these kids that lost their hero and our hero.
So that was a great idea, especially at that time. So that was a perfect time to do it. Would you agree, Keith, especially what's happened with this pandemic and how it's really affected so many people, and really to honor these frontline workers that lost their lives, and then they loved ones that lost those people.
I'm just saying the whole concept is just incredible. A lot of charities, major charities, have got on board. A number of them. We've gone to.
So when the pandemic hit, one of my childhood friends was a Naples firefighter, and he got COVID-19 and passed away. He was the first firefighter in Florida to die on the job of COVID. So that's when Megan and I started doing some research, and we were finding that what was interesting was that how many first responders and healthcare workers were actually passing away. So the more we looked at it, there was 1 week there was 500 that was documented, and the next week there's 1,000, and then 2 months later there's 1,500 first responders, and then there's 3,000, then there's 4,000. But most interesting, what we found out was that nobody was in all the fundraising that was going on, the millions of dollars for masks and for equipment, which was all fantastic. We learned that nobody was doing anything for these kids. So these kids have truly been left behind.
Yeah.
So we talk to families every week. And in fact, I met Pamela Addison yesterday. She started a group on Facebook. It's Young Widows and Widowers of who lost their spouse to COVID that was a frontline healthcare worker, first responder. And she started this support group. And she's got 2 little kids, 4 years old and 2 years old, and nobody's helping these families. They've truly been forgotten in all the fundraising. So what we wanted to do was help these kids in some way. And what we're doing, the funds for these events, which we're going to talk about, is the proceeds are used to provide educational scholarships for the kids of our fallen heroes, and also grant a Megan's Wish that we started to, help these kids get over their grieving in some sort of way.
So Megan, tell us about those events, and then we'll try to jump back to Keith, but his connection was.
I'm okay.
You're good now?
I'm okay. I think I fixed it. Can you hear me good now?
Oh, yes. So you can tell us about the event, Keith. We can hear you now. So, and I'm going to edit this stuff. Don't worry. It'll be fun with my editing. I enjoy the cutting
I'm
of
sorry.
different things. No worries. So that's why I love not going live. Go ahead, Keith. Talk about now. We talked about the again, Charity Pros for Heroes, and now we're talking about the big events coming up. Tell us that process, how you put together such an all-star lineup.
Well, I didn't really put it together. Brad does, because he's the one, he's the brains, I believe, and I'm sort of the guts.
Okay.
But he's done a number of big events before. I went to one. Where was that one that I went with? And was
In Illinois.
Huh?
In Illinois.
Yeah, there was one of them. The big event. Yeah, in Illinois, I went there, and that was when you had some major bands and groups there. But Brad's the one that is brains behind getting all this and all the people. It seems like a lot of the people in the industry want to get involved, because they're seeing some things, people, there's a lot of people, which I think a lot of people don't know, but there's a lot of people hurting today. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, more than if we could see in the big scope. Man, it's a lots of people, because of all the stuff that's going on, especially now that, if, you're not doing what the government says, then you get fired. And a lot of people have either got quit their jobs or fired, and, and there's a lot more coming, I believe, unfortunately. So I think it's just a way to, like Brad said, to get out and reach out and connect with people that, are less fortunate, and to help them in any way we can. But I know it's a big project, because there's a lot of people, but we can only do so much, but can do what we can do and will do.
And so, Keith, what did you, just before we go back to talking more about the event, Keith, what do you do to help Charity Pros for Heroes? What is your big part of the whole process of being part of the organization?
Well, I try to, just input. I'm involved. They ask me things. I've got, my daughter, I got her to send out a tweet. I'm getting her to, do some more things to help in that way. I think when she did send her tweet out, we got tons of response of what's going on. That was in the earlier stages. Now that we've matured more, that, I'm just a real support for them. I'm willing to do whatever they want to do. I can't sing, so I can't get on stage. Hey, don't laugh. So anyway, but I'm there for them. I've been there for like how many years now?
4 or 5.
4 or 5, and so you know, whatever I can do in the industry business to get people involved. I've shared with some other people that I can't name names right now because I don't want people, you know, texting, oh, did you get involved with it? And I never heard of that. And you know how that goes. So I have to sort of be careful. But I think our friendship, you know, Brad and our friendship was really a little bit before the concept, or right at it. We got, you know, we've seen each other and talked with the other number of times. So I'm just real supportive, whatever they're wanting me to do. And, you know, much as I can help. And I've gone to the hospital I went to was a Shriners Hospital here for them. And I was visited the whole hospital, and they had all their staff out, and everybody, and all the kids were excited because I was Katy Perry's dad. And they said, why did you bring Katy? I said, oh, thanks a lot. You don't want me to see me. I said, you don't want to see me? I mean, come on. It's like somebody said one day, says, are you involved in Katy's business? I said, yes, I'm a producer. And they said, well, we've never read anything like that. I said, well, I produced her. and so now, you know, I'm the producer. So anyway, but I think over the couple of few years that things have really progressed. We've got a lot of interest, and I think it's just, you know, if it wasn't for this COVID situation, we'd already be flying high. You know, I really do, because you know, we're back in the air, so to speak, and you know, it would happen a little bit faster, I believe, with all this downsize from, you know, all the restrictions and everything. But I think it's going to take off in a great way, and it is. And there's a lot of people are involved in it, you know, are really, you know, putting this whole thing with the events is all donated.
Wow.
And so I think it's great.
It's amazing. So is Keith being humble, Brad, when he says about how he helps the organization?
Keith's always very humble. You know, he's not a self-bragger by any means, but you know, Keith and his wife Mary, they're just wonderful people and supportive. And you know, they've traveled the world ministering and helping people. And Mary does these Arise seminars to help women that abused and women that need help and counseling. Keith can tell you more about that, but they're just a fantastic couple. And Keith's right. He and I knew each other actually for almost a couple of years before we even started the Charity Pro Travel together, and got to know each other. And they're just very genuine. And Keith always picks up the phone, and he's anxious to make a phone call for us or appear for us or talk about it. But you know, they've helped people their entire life, so they're great partners to have.
All right, so Megan, tell us about the 3-day event. John Fogerty and some other great groups are going to be there. 3 different places in Florida, right, for the concert? So,
yes, 3 different places. So we have one here in Fort Myers, and then we're doing a show in Tampa, and then another show in Orlando. So 3 great areas of Florida. Each show also has different supporting artists with them. So we have Cheap Trick on Orlando and Lauren Elena when the Tampa show goes on. And then in Fort Myers here, we have Foreigner. So we have a great star-studded lineup at each event, whichever one someone would choose to go to. I mean, they're going to have a ball.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And you had asked earlier about how we put this together. In April, we actually did a virtual show to kind of prepare us for going live. And Megan got on the phone and sent 100 emails out to artists. And they remarkably, they were raising their hand. John Fogerty, Lance Bass from NSYNC, Mel Gibson, Andy Grammer, Roseanne Cash was amazing, Foreigner, and they all made videos for us. And we did a virtual show in April with 20 artists, and it was amazing. So this kind of prepared us to go forward with the live shows. And again, we reached back out then to some of those artists that participated, and Fogerty said, yeah, I'm in. and Foreigner and Cheap Trick and Lauren Elena, who's a country artist, just put out a new album. She's got 3 #1s.
Wow.
And then what's really exciting for us is we have Casey Bishop, who's opening all 3 shows for us. She was a finalist in this last episode of American Idol, and she lives here in Fort Myers. So it's really exciting to give her an opportunity to come on stage with these Hall of Famers.
Yes.
And play a couple songs and help out her community.
So it's very impressive, Keith, how again Brad and Megan to be able to do this and pull this off right to this level so quickly.
Oh, it's yeah, it's incredible. Well, I mean, the whole thing has been incredible, and I really say that Brad's a mastermind. He really is. He just, for some reason, he just knows how to do it. I mean, you did restaurant business for years, and he could put together a restaurant in a couple of weeks and have it running and maintaining it. He's done those things. So he was born to do this, I guess, so he's really been good at it. But the thing of it is, I think what grabs the people is the concept of you. You're going to help somebody. You know what I mean? You buy this ticket, or you get a airfare, or you get a rental car, something. That part of that's going to go to your favorite charity. And everybody has a charity, most everybody, and they want to give, and sometimes they don't realize that if you just automatically buy this plane ticket, part of that is going to your charity. Just tell us what charity you want. Every time you buy a ticket, every time you get a hotel room or something, it's automatically coming out, and it's going, and it's going to be helping somebody. And that's, I mean, there's a great feeling when you help someone. It really is. I mean, that's the greatest gift, is when that's why people get excited about birthday. I can't wait till I give him my birthday. And when you give them the birthday present, they go, open it up now, open it up, open my present right now. You got all these people around. Why? Because you're so excited about giving. And that's the whole concept of this is giving.
And Brad, best place people can go to purchase the tickets now is go where?
So yeah, Ticketmaster, of course, but you can also get them at the venue. So the tour starts on November 20th at the Yuengling Center in Tampa. And the next night we're down in Estero, Florida, Fort Myers area at the Hertz Arena. And then on the 23rd, we're in Orlando for the big show at the Amway Center. And in fact, we're a week away from announcing that we're inviting all the families of the fallen heroes from anywhere, just not in Florida, but any family that wants to come to the concert in Orlando is our guest to come. There's free tickets. We've also passed out tickets to the hospitals in all the corresponding cities, and offered discounted tickets to all the first responders and the healthcare workers here all around the state of Florida, and anybody else that wants to come in.
And that website, Brad, is again?
You can go to Ticketmaster, or you can go to any of the venues, Yuengling Center, Hertz Arena, or of course you can go to thecharitypros.org, which is you can get all the information, including sponsorship information. It takes a village to make something like this happen, and we really need sponsors. We've got some people on board, the Tito's group and Yuengling and so forth, but we need sponsors. That's what really makes this thing. An Amazon, a Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or somebody could help so many kids with this. We really appreciate you and the media getting behind this, because we need that to help spread the word.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to interviewing everyone I can for this event, and who knows, we might come to Florida. I might come to Florida in November. We'll see. We're definitely going to stay in touch.
We would love to have you, because I'll tell you, the evenings, the events are going to be so cool, because we've partnered with the local hospitals. We've partnered with the sheriff departments, the fire departments. They're going to be at the event. We've got some special things planned to honor all the fallen heroes, the honor guards on the stage, and Casey Bishop singing the national anthem. I get chills as I tell people about it,
Definitely.
but it's just going to be a tremendous event to honor all these people that work so hard around the clock to get us through this pandemic.
Absolutely. And Keith, best place we can connect with you, where can we go? Where's the best place for different events and things you're doing?
What I was going to say, I was going to come, but he just mentioned he's going to have the sheriff department there, so I don't know if I'm coming or not.
They still have that warrant out for you?
So, so Keith, where's the best place to connect on your different projects you got going on as well? Plus,
Well, I,
you know.
I have the KeithHudson.org. That's it. It's just very simple. It's KeithHudson.org.
Well, you guys
and-
are yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. No, I'm just saying that's it. But it's it's going to be a great event. Anytime they put on anything, the one that we did, the video, it was incredible. And they did that, they just took the time and, all didn't ask for anything, any money and nothing, and set and did all these sets, and it was incredible because you have to set up, you have, especially if you have a group and you're doing a virtual, you're putting out there on the video. So all these groups got and did it. Now they're doing it again live. So it's going to be really, really unique.
Well, let me introduce her, Casey Bishop. For those of you who've been watching, she's no stranger to you. She was almost in the top 3, and I don't know what happened. But Casey, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Glad to have
Casey.
you.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about really an exciting time where you're going to be performing with your hometown crowd for such a great charity. We're going to talk about that later, but I kind of want to start out, Casey. Did you always want to be a singer? Was that something growing up you wanted to do, to be a performer?
Yeah, honestly, I think so, because I was always singing from when I was really little, and then I started feeling really inspired by like Stevie Nicks and Heart, like Ann Wilson.
Oh yeah.
And that started happening in like middle school, and that's when I really started taking it seriously. So yeah.
Yeah. How did you feel when your single soared to the top of the iTunes country chart?
Yeah, that's crazy. I never expected that, like my first single, and it all happened really quickly too. It was that was pretty cool.
Now,
Yeah.
how did this whole thing happen with American Idol? What was your thought process in the auditioning and stuff like that?
Well, the audition, so I had to audition for producers before the judges, and I was really setting my expectations low because I had already been told no like 3 other times by other shows. And yeah, I got told yes, and then I got sent through to the judges, and I really could not believe it. It was really, really surreal to me.
So this is an experience that can really enhance your personal development. I'm sure you've seen growth in yourself as a person and your personality. Tell us how you have grown, other than your voice, in this whole experience.
I think I think I've really grown as a person, honestly, and like my personality and my social skills. Because Idol, there was a lot of people, and that whole show, we just became like family, and there was absolutely no competitiveness at all whatsoever. And yeah, just super tight bond with every one of the contestants because of the show.
And that's the important part of the whole thing. And what was your greatest experience being on Idol?
Yeah, really just honestly feeling like noticing that I was growing vocally, and my nerves weren't getting to me as much. And the friends that I made on that show, that was one of my favorite parts.
It's always
As a viewer, I'm sorry, Neil. As a viewer, we always wonder what's going on behind the scenes, because we see breakdowns, we see people who are not emotionally stable enough to rise to the occasion, to take the pressure. They crush under pressure. What are some of the things you've seen, and were they real or were they staged? I mean, we never know what's staged on the show.
Right. Well, I can say for myself that behind the scenes, in the middle of the show, while I was there, I started getting really, really down on myself, and I was losing my voice. So I started to worry, and my nerves started getting to me, and it was making me perform differently. And I wasn't enjoying performing. I was just too worried. And, you know, I wasn't saying that on TV, or I wasn't really telling everyone that, but I'm very open about it because nerves, they're a real thing. And
Sure.
yeah, but it all got better though, because my voice started to get better. So yeah.
Cool.
So in that process, how do you keep yourself from those nerves? How do you get yourself focused when, especially when it's time to perform?
Um, ugh, I don't know. I'm still trying to work on that, but I luckily made it through it every time my nerves overwhelmed me. It's honestly like I feel like I black out from my nerves and then I remember what I did like hours later, you know? I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's weird.
I know that from performing, and I think Dave does as well, speaking in front of big audiences and stuff. It's like basically once the camera lights on or it's time to perform, when I was a professional wrestler, whatever, the mind of the nerves just went away after the first minute. It's like
Yeah.
first couple seconds, and and you're like, okay, now
Mhm.
I'm in the zone. Everything I was thinking about before the camera light went on or performing is like that. Dave, do you agree with me on that? The same kind of feelings? Yeah.
Absolutely. Some of the times that I've been the most nervous, I've spoken to people afterwards and I says, God, I was so nervous up there. Is really? You didn't even look at. So
Yeah.
in essence, we've all learned to become at our worst better than everybody else. And that's why they kept pushing you through.
Yeah. Yeah. 100% relate.
And then, so from American Idol, what's going on now? Can you update your fans since American Idol, what you've been doing? Yeah.
Yeah. So I got signed to the label 19 Records and BMG. And I'm traveling back and forth to LA and I'm writing and recording some new music. So I'm pumped about that.
That's the cool thing about Idol. You don't have to come in first or second or third or even fourth or fifth. There's people out there because the competition is just getting more and more intense. And it's like, I don't envy the judges for choosing these people. And I don't know how the fans can do it, but they were so disappointed when you got knocked off that some people said, I'm not watching Idol ever again.
I
They were
know.
really invested in you.
Oh, that was a good night. Honestly, that night I got eliminated. It was a really good night for me.
So now let's talk about Charity Pros, and especially talk about Charity Pros for Heroes. And you're going to get the opportunity to perform in front of your hometown. How exciting is that? And tell us about it.
Oh yeah, I'm always excited to perform for my hometown because I did that one time and the energy was absolutely amazing. And I'm so excited to do that again, especially at Hertz. So yeah, I'm pumped, and especially with John Fogerty, like that's nuts.
Yeah, and to be in that opportunity in that environment, and have you performed in Hertz before or not?
Have I what?
You've performed at Hertz Arena before, or is
No.
Oh yeah, so
No.
crowd excitement. How excited are you already talking about who's coming to see you perform and everything and getting it all ready together? What date is it on? November? Because I always get the dates are 20. What date is it? 20.
Oh gosh, yeah, me too. I think Hertz is the 21st.
Yeah, 20. So I can go back and I'll check that stuff out. So, but we'll check it out. But again, go to Cherry Pros. You can check all that information.
We're back to the Neil Haley Show, and this is going to be a really interesting interview. I'm a huge fan of Foreigner, so I'm excited to welcome to the program Michael Bluestein. Michael Bluestein, how are you? Thanks for coming on the show. And today we're going to talk about a big event which coming up in Fort Myers, but I want to learn about your career first. Tell me, did you always want to be a musician?
Yeah, well, I mean, from an early age, definitely. Started playing piano when I was 9, and there was just an old funky upright piano that was in the house that we bought, living in Haverhill, Massachusetts, and just kind of came with the house. The previous owners didn't move it out, and I started plunking around with it, and kind of pretty early on was able to pick out melodies and sort of had a knack for it. And my mom was all about that, and she's an artist and a creative person and really wanted to try to nurture that and got me lessons, and I guess the rest was history, kind of, and so been a long road of a lot of different avenues, a lot of different styles of music, a lot of different potential career paths that kind of came along and changed, but led me to where I am today with Foreigner.
Exactly. So the process was a journey to get to Foreigner, right? Especially getting the opportunity, right? Tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Well, yeah. So usually in the biz, in the music biz, in the touring world, and with live musicians who become parts of bands, who become hired as sidemen for bands, whatever, in whatever capacity, it's a word of mouth thing. A lot of people, you get to a point where maybe, hopefully, people know who you are, and you're in the orbit. You're in the orbit and the consciousness of people that might be in the position to bring you in, for an audition, and that's how it came about. So. In 2008, I was at a music convention and ran into an old friend of mine who was playing keyboards with Foreigner at the time. His name is Paul Merkovich, and he's the musical director for The Voice, the big show on TV. And he was playing keys, as I said, but couldn't stay with Foreigner at the time. Just said, hey, listen, I need to get somebody in to replace me. And I told the guys I'd help them out to find a replacement for me. So I think you'd be great. And he said, why don't you come in for an audition? And that's how it went down. That was 2008.
Yeah, and that opportunity. Were you a fan of Foreigner before auditioning to get?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, growing up a kid in the 70s, I was born in 69. So, the late 70s, 80s, that was just, it seemed like every other song, on the radio for a while was a Foreigner song,
So
just
getting-
hot-blooded, cold as ice, feels like the first time, dirty white boy, long, long way from home, jukebox hero, waiting for a girl like you, urgent, it was just, that was yesterday, say you will, just goes on, and all the songs were just playing all the time,
It felt great once you started touring, like performing in front of those crowds, right? Since you said since 2008, you've been with them. It's been an amazing journey, hasn't it?
It has been, yeah. I mean, it's taken us all over the world. It seems, I mean, I Want to Know What Love Is. I didn't even mention that one in that list of
That's my
songs.
favorite. That's my favorite
Yeah.
because I think of it in Miami Vice. Remember in
Oh,
Miami Vice they played
oh,
it is one of
I
the
forgot. Wow, I forgot. Man, it was in that show too. That would make sense because it came out in '84.
right.
I was in high school at the time. At the time I don't think I was watching much Miami Vice, but I was certainly aware of the show. But yeah, that was the biggest hit of all. That was a #1 hit, and it was kind of an international hit. So again, wherever we go, Australia, New Zealand, India, Europe, the UK, all the places that we've been, China, it's an enormous song and everyone knows it.
Yeah, and it's that process. And what would you say was your greatest experience? How big a crowd have you performed? What's the biggest crowd you've performed in front of?
Wow, I want to say we did something in Quebec, up in Canada for this venue, and I want to say there were like 50,000 people there. We've played some of the festival gigs tend to be the biggest ones, with some of the festivals that we do in Germany or Sweden, they have tens of thousands of people. But this one in Quebec, I think I seem to remember a festival, just everybody descended on this venue, and I think it was something like 50,000.
And it's exactly. And this event coming up on November 21st, where you're going to be performing with John Fogerty, is amazing because I'm sure you're a fan of John Fogerty's as well. But having the opportunity again to think about what this means for Charity Pros, to be able to raise money for people who lost their lives as frontline workers for COVID for their families, and that their families are going to attend that. That's a powerful thing, isn't it? To do something, to be part of that.
Absolutely. And again, it's just the power of music, that it brings you to into these opportunities and gives you a chance to be a part of something where music is a force for, raising money like this, for such a great cause, because a lot of times it's, a typical concert environment, a theater or an amphitheater or something, and people are coming for entertainment and just, getting away from their busy lives and stressful lives. But it's not just that. Sometimes it's a big fundraiser thing for a really great cause. So, it's just, again, the power of music and what it does for us, you know.
COVID in so many ways, think about it in ways of lost lives, but also the challenges that people left alone. And when you weren't performing, that was a challenge for all musicians as well, not to have an audience. How great does it feel to perform in front of crowds after that time being off from?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of like anything, you take it away, right? And people want it more. I mean, nobody could, we're doing these shows. We didn't do a live gig for 16 months almost. We were sent home in March of 2020, once things were starting to really get bad. And we did not do a live show until May of this year, 2021, so all that time, people that were big concert goers and loved live music were stuck at home and couldn't do it. There was live streaming and some live streaming events, but and I participated in some of that stuff, and that was filled in a little bit, but there's just nothing like that experience of being out shoulder to shoulder with people and singing along to your favorite songs. And so I mean, we're definitely seeing that enthusiasm has been ramped up. People are just psyched to be back at it.
Have the Foreigner fans, are they different age groups now? Think about when you listen to Foreigner, when I listen to Foreigner and watch them perform on specific on music videos and stuff. Now, is it amazing to see the different age groups that are fans of Foreigner?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a testament to the longevity of the songs and how much they've become part of our culture. Yeah, so I mean, we don't, of course, people that were in high school or in the 70s and 80s or in college then, and growing up then, know the songs from their youth. It's obviously not, it's not on new pop radio now. It's like whatever, it's The Weeknd or Adele or Drake or whatever. So those people are on pop radio now are not listening to Foreigner, but their parents are turning them on to it. And so we see a lot of teenagers and 20 somethings and 30 somethings, the people that grew up with their parents playing the stuff at home, and then they in turn love classic rock, and so they're tuning in on classic rock satellite stations or radio stations, whatever, and still listening to that stuff. And yeah, so you have a whole bunch of kids growing up with it too.
And everyone that definitely needs to check out again, November 21st, Foreigner and John Fogerty in Fort Myers, Florida, and then Charity Pros Travel, as I'll again have the link in the bio. But also, where can we check out Foreigner? Where's the best place?
Foreigner Online is the website for all things Foreigner. There's is that what you're asking about, like
Yes.
virtual?
Yeah.
Foreigner Online is the website, and then also we have a really big Facebook page that a lot of people tune into. That's Foreigner on Facebook, and then there's a Foreigner Instagram page that we post a lot for. We post a lot of stories and stuff from the road there. So I would say those are the three major things.
Hey, we appreciate you coming by, Foreigner fan. The dream definitely came true. Everyone needs to check out again Charity Pros, as Foreigner's going to be performing with John Fogerty on November 21st in Fort Myers. And I appreciate you coming by. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Take care. See you later. Bye bye.
Okay,
You're
bye-bye.
listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.